So then you start going through and having growing pains, right? And
A
I'm
lot of
sure,
growing
what
pains.
did you learn kind of in that process that have implemented since, starting it? Hello, Empower Nation. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. I'm your host, Angela Duncan, speaker, best-selling author, serial entrepreneur. In today's podcast, I get to interview Luz with Nedas Coquito. We are in person today, recording this podcast at Miami Startup, an incredible podcast studio. But today, we're going to talk about Coquito. What is that? How to start a beverage company, some lessons that Luz has learned along the way, some incredible information about her products, how she ships them, and you don't want to miss the taste test that we do live here in studio today. So definitely enjoy this episode. Hi, Luz. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. How are you today?
Hi, Angela. I'm good. I'm so glad to be here. Finally, we made it happen.
Yes. We are in studio here in Startup Miami, and we just got finished. Well, I just got finished watching Luz create this incredible beverage that we're going to talk about today. But first, I would love for you to start with your story. Kind of, how did you get started, and what inspired you to do this?
Well, I'm a full-time educator. I went to school to study broadcast journalism, and then I switched to education. And in 2016, it was a December, we had more month than we had cash. The next payday was far away. And I'm a person that I like to create things, repurpose things. I mean, in a sense, you could say DIY, right? And my husband and I were talking, how are we going to make it to the next, how are we going to get to the end of the month, to the next pay period? I was like, I don't know. We were thinking. And so I decided, you know what, let me make something. And I was looking at my pantry, looking at the stuff that I had. And I had the ingredients for coquito. Now, coquito means little coconut. For anyone that doesn't know, coquito means little coconut. And it's a beverage from the island of Puerto Rico, reserved for the holidays. Okay? So this baby shows up every Christmas. All right? But this was Christmas, and I had the ingredients. And I remember my mom and my grandmother would make coquito. And this is typical during the Christmas time in Puerto Rico. So I said, okay, let me make some coquito. Maybe I can sell it. Again, remember, I repurpose, I recycle. I had glass jars of different sizes, glass bottles. And I said, okay, I'll do it this way. So I made it. And I said, okay, so now that I did this, I decided to call my friends. I texted my friends. And I said, listen, this is my situation. How much would you pay for a bottle of coquito? And they started giving me different prices, and I was like, okay, perfect. I just took whatever price.
I was like, that's great market research. You're asking people that you know, and
Yes.
you're starting to make a product and figuring out what they're going to pay. So that's a great way for you to determine the price before obviously making huge batches.
Exactly, because I was thinking like, and the thing is, actually, I had not thought of taking this to the next level. This was just a Band-Aid, to get us to the next side. They bought them all, and I was like, okay, perfect. And that was it. I didn't visit it again. The following Christmas, some friends asked me, hey, are you going to make coquito? I was like, I hadn't thought about it, but would you like to buy some? They're like, if you make it, I'll buy it. Okay, perfect. So I decided, okay, I asked my husband. He says, I don't know, maybe $20 a bottle, whatever. I said, oh, okay, fine. So again, I actually had some people donate bottles. I said, listen, to save the environment, give me whatever bottle you have, and I'll fill it up, and it's $20
I love
flat.
that. Yeah,
That was that. Right?
Keeps your costs down a little bit.
Exactly. And so that happened. And then I was doing it every year. Then we got COVID. And I had orders to fulfill, and this was during December, and it's my birthday. And I got COVID. And at that time, I had to actually leave my house, because it's a small place. We didn't, just 4 of us, but not that I could isolate myself or be in quarantine. So I went to one of the quarantine hotels here in Miami, which is by the airport, the Sheraton, and I started to panic because I was like, how is this coquito going to get made?
Without you.
Without me. And I had
kitchen.
not, exactly. And I think, so I'm a woman that believes in the power of prayer. And I reached out to some friends, my sister, my mom, and I said, listen, you need to pray with me. You need to really help me because I have this happening and I don't know what I'm going to do. So through that whole thing, I started to think about it, and I said, I'm an educator, a good educator. I've been teaching for more than 28 years, but I want to do something else, Lord. So how can I make this into something else? So then I said, okay, we're going to make this work. I said, God, give me the strength to make her live on.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I did. So we started that, and I had gotten an interview from a lady for the Miami New Times. And I was freaking out because I was like, oh, my Lord, I'm not going to be able to talk with her. She said, no, we could do it over the phone. Great. That happened, and then started to build Nedas that way. Now, let me clarify. Nedas means no es de abuela. That means it's not grandma's recipe.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you for those of us like me who do not speak Spanish.
No, so that's basically what Nedas means. No es de abuela. It's not grandma's recipe. And because I started to tweak it and try different things. And so that's how we arrived at the dairy-free, egg-free, gluten-free, vegan-friendly recipe that's Nedas Coquito today.
So traditionally, what is it made with?
It's condensed milk, evaporated milk, and Coco Lopez.
Okay, so not great ingredients for healthy.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right, so I changed the balance. I'm going to do this completely different.
Right.
So, it's taking off from there. And then I don't know if you've heard of this app that came about at the time, Clubhouse.
Okay, yes.
Yes, okay. So everything was going on virtual. And then I met a group of ladies from Latina Meetup with this lady that became my friend, Danai Escanarverino. And we were networking. I had never done networking. So mind you, I don't have a business background, people. So I'm learning how to do this. I'm networking, starting to meet people. I said, okay, great. Then she moves to Clubhouse. Danai Escanarverino takes the networking to Clubhouse. There's where I meet a whole bunch of people. It's like, that song, A Whole New World?
Yeah, that was it.
That was it.
Now you have a whole bunch of clients.
A whole bunch of clients, plus a whole bunch of people were giving me advice. I started meeting people that are business coaches, people like me who just, they started the business because it had to fulfill a need. And so we're having all these connections, and that's where they said, don't make it only available for Christmas. Make it available year round. I was like, are you kidding? You could do that?
Yeah.
So it was just like, wow. So now we are here at Nedas Coquito, and the interesting thing is my business coach I met on Clubhouse, and she's a native of Miami, but she lives in Connecticut. So Julie DeLuca Collins. And that was actually a gift for my daughter to have, because she asked me, Mom, what do you want for Christmas? I said, I don't know. And then Julie had done something on Instagram. She says, I never do a Black Friday sale, but I'm going to do a Black Friday sale. I'm going to offer my coaching for this price. And I said, oh, man, I so want this.
I was going to say, this is the power of prayer coming in when you need it.
Exactly. And I said, oh, man. So my daughter asked me, Mom, what do you want? I said, I want this. Are you sure you want business coaching? That's not a gift. I said, yes, it is. It is for me.
Yes.
And that's how that happened. So, we're talking about, 2-3 years ago when we had COVID, that I connected with this lady, and she's just helped me take it to the next level. I got my clients. A lot of my clients are from out of state. I have clients in New York, New Jersey, Chicago, Texas, California, Utah. So, it's grown.
Right.
It's just grown. And mind you, people, I didn't go to school for business.
Right. You had a recipe.
I had a recipe.
It's kind of like the KFC story. When you hear about Colonel Sanders, he had a recipe. He didn't know business at the time. So really inspiring story. So then you start going through and having growing pains, right?
I'm sure. Growing pains.
What did you learn kind of in that process that you have implemented since, starting it?
Oh, okay. So one of the growing pains for me, and this comes from when I was a child in terms of limiting beliefs and a mixed, I wouldn't say a fixed mindset, but like mixed. Like, yeah, I could do it. No, I can't do it. Yeah, I can do it. So that whole thing. So one of the things, and my uncle had told me this, he says, in order to grow your business, you got to spend money.
Yeah.
I was like, I have no money. I have no money. What are you talking about? I got to spend money. So that was one of the growing pains for me because, and I was very reluctant because when I had a business coach, mind you, I was trying to find every free app, every free thing I could do to grow the business.
Which most of us do in the beginning when we don't have that capital.
Exactly. So I was using Canva, MailChimp, Trello, everything that was free. And then they're like, would you like to upgrade? I'm like, no, thank you. We're not doing that. But when I got the coaching, she says, sometimes you need to use some of your own money to get to the next level. And then she kept explaining to me, then you use that money and reinvest it to take you to the next level. And so forth. And so that has been kind of, at first I was like, are you kidding? What if I fail? I mean, what if I can't make rent because I use some of that money?
Right, some of that negative self-talk that's going on.
Exactly. So that has been one of the growing pains in terms of how I use the money or how I'm using money to grow. That whole battle of that negative self-talk, the limiting beliefs. I can't do this, I can't do that. So when she said, you have to start working on your branding, I was like, well, what is that? So learning a lot, really, just being teachable has been one of the, and I don't know if it's a growing pain because there's choices I've had to make that I'm like, I don't want to do that. But I see the rewards of it.
Right. So in the moment, you didn't know if it was the right decision, but you went with it, implemented it, and then obviously it continues to grow.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly one of the things. Yeah.
So where do you source your products from? Is it here locally? Do you have to get it from abroad?
Well, you know what? All the being that Coquito is from Puerto Rico, I try to use all Latino products. Okay. So the one product I don't use just because it's my issue. I don't really use Goya, but I started with Goya, right? But
it's a brand.
It's a brand, the Goya brand. But then I started noticing that there were other brands that are Latino that provided the same ingredients. So it's, honestly, people, you could get this in the grocery store. That's all I'm telling you. Yeah. So it's all local. All of it is local.
Yes.
And for me, it's very important to keep the whole Latino aspect of it because being that it's a Puerto Rican product, so the products I use are like La Fe, which is Latino, Iberia, which is Latino, Conchita. Everything I use, even our rum, I use the rum from Puerto Rico, Don Q, right? Because that is distilled in Ponce, Puerto Rico. So even that is from Puerto Rico.
Gotcha.
In terms of the ingredients. Now, it's taking me a lot to look for like the bottles. Because one thing I wanted to keep unique to the brand, especially for me, when I think about my grandmother, she used glass.
Why glass?
Because she didn't have plastic.
Okay.
So I wanted to keep that of my grandmother, because even though the recipe is not from my grandmother, my memories of Coquito are tied to celebrating Christmas with my mom and my grandparents.
Right, but it keeps it reusable.
It keeps it, that's the other part, right. It keeps it reusable. And it's also, I have a client, she's in Maryland. Every year she buys for me. She says, I have a collection of bottles, of your bottles. I use them for everything. And she says, I think I'm going to go visit you. And I said, okay, great. Can I take my bottles? I said, bring your bottles and I'll refill them for you. No problem.
Yeah.
So the idea of keeping it recyclable, that you could use it on and on. And as a matter of fact, what I've done and many times before is if a client bought the Coquito and said, listen, I have your bottle. I said, okay, I'll refill it for you at a fraction of the price.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that keeps
especially
them
if they're-
coming back.
Yeah, it does. So
If they're local.
repeat customers, giving them a discount if they're local, then you're still working on saving the environment. too,
Exactly.
which I love. So let's talk about the packaging a little bit. How did you come up with your packaging and how you put everything together?
All right. So the one thing you hit on before for me was very important with the environment, that everything could be recycled. All right. So, the craft, the box, it's just the whole idea of it being recyclable. You could use it again. It's a sturdy box. I try to buy from companies in terms like anything that has to do with the packaging, and it says that they do recycle as well.
Right. So this could be
support.
made by a recycled.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right? And then inside, people, just so you know, your junk meal, take it through the shredder. And that's exactly what this is.
Oh, wow.
This is all junk mail that's been shredded.
Right. Very nice.
Okay? So with the coquito in a box, when you order it, you get this box and I put tissue paper, you have the recycled junk mail. Now this comes in a mailer, right, with the logo. And then we have these, the pour spouts. So everything's in here minus the rum.
Yeah, and because it's empty right now, because Luz was nice enough to make me a batch, which I'm going to try here in just a moment. But normally the bags are not empty because obviously the product is in there.
Right. So we made it here so she could see the process and share it with you. And then, of course, I include a little something for you to your coaster. And I have my card, and it includes the cinnamon, it includes the vanilla, and
the instructions.
And the instructions thank you. Yes, and the instructions. Now, coquito can be made in a blender, and it could be made stovetop. Stovetop is better in a sense because the flavors meld better.
Right.
And it takes a little bit more time, but the blender's faster.
Right.
So,
and even for those of you who don't cook like myself, the instructions are really easy to follow. All the ingredients are already there, so you're just putting it in the blender, mixing it up, and then we've got the product right in front of us. So I thought that was incredible. So is there anything that you would have done differently in the process now that you know what you know?
I want to say that I think I would have been braver when I was younger. I had thought about different business opportunities, but always, again, the limiting.
Right.
And I don't have enough funds to do this. And I think that's, if I would have been a little bit braver and not worry so much about the funds and just get started. And I think that's what, if I could go back 20 years, tell my younger self, girl, go for it. Just do it. It's okay. It'll show up.
Right.
Which is actually what's happened. A lot of things have just shown up. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and this is not like a relatively expensive business to start. I mean, you have ingredient costs and things like that, packaging, but you don't need an entire facility to start
No, you don't. No, and the thing is, guys, I make this at home in my kitchen.
Okay.
Now, my coach has challenged me to get to a commercial kitchen.
Yes.
Her and I have gone back and forth on that because I'm like, I don't know. She's like, go for it. So Angela called me in October, November, and remind me, did you get the commercial kitchen?
I'm writing that down. I'm holding you accountable too.
Hold me accountable, because the thing is that coquito season is actually from October to January. Now, Puerto Rico and Christmas is very long. Okay, we have one of the longest Christmas.
Really? I need to know more about this too.
Yeah, we have one of the longest Christmas. So that, if you'll notice, people will start making coquito in that time. And, there's different variations. But my coquito is all about Puerto Rico. So one of the things that I had to try that my coach really told me about, try offering different flavors. I was like, are you kidding? That's blasphemy. I'm a purist. I started to see people do it, and I was like, why are you doing that mix? Like putting pistachio coquito and pumpkin spice coquito. I was like, are you kidding? That's nasty. All right.
Breaking tradition.
Breaking traditions. But I did. And so going back and forth with her, we decided, she says, why don't you do what's typical of Puerto Rico? And I said, I could do that, right? So we have this month, for this month, we have July. We are doing pineapple.
Okay.
Last month we did guava because this grows in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Next month is mango because mango grows in Puerto Rico.
Interesting.
We've done coffee, chocolate. So all the flavors that you can find in Puerto Rico, those are the flavors
Right.
that I'm doing. So the thing is that then, and the reason why I tell you I got accountable, I want you to hold me accountable, was because I saw growth and I started to panic.
Mm-hmm. Here's your next phase.
Exactly. And I was like, I can't handle this. And my husband's like, there's no space in the refrigerator. I was like, I need a little refrigerator. And lo and behold, a friend actually says, hey, I'm moving. I have a little refrigerator. You want it? I was like, yes.
There you go.
So, just because of that. And then my kids I have 2 blenders. And they're like, Mom, there's not much space, Mom. And so I said, okay, I definitely have to go to a commercial kitchen to level this up and have a place to store and make it.
All right. So I've never tried this before. For everybody listening, I've seen you at a couple events, and I'm just always leery about trying new things until I know what's in it, right? So I'm going to try the non-alcohol version first, of course.
And this is good for if you have kids and they want to try it. All right.
It definitely smells like a fresh coconut. Like I've just cut open a coconut and I can smell it. So
there you go.
Oh, that's actually sweet too, which I like. I'm not a milk drinker, so that consistency of milk sometimes I don't like, but this is very creamy, and I can taste like the cinnamon flavor to it too.
And the good thing about that is the longer it is, it gets a little thicker, but in a good way. So it's not heavy on the stomach.
Yeah.
And it's actually really enjoyable. And it's good with the kids. Listen, I have people that tell me, I put this in my coffee. This is great. I said, all right, power to you.
I can see that. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
So it's been like a creamer. Some people have used it as a creamer in their coffee.
Gives a little bit of cinnamon taste.
Exactly. So this one is spiced. This one is...
I just added a little bit of whiskey, so anybody who's...
And that's the good thing about the coquito in the box.
Right.
Okay, you can add...
What other...
I usually add coconut rum.
Rum, okay.
But I've had people tell me they've put whiskey, they've put brandy, they've put tequila. That's what the coquito in a box allows you to do. Experiment.
It's almost like a fireball.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, with the whiskey, with the cinnamon flavor of it, yeah, I can definitely see a fireball.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So it could be a shot.
There you go.
If someone's at a party and you want to add whiskey to it, just make it in little containers and then have it as, just a shot that you're celebrating.
And
I like that
actually,
too.
you can have it anytime, but I tell people you can have it for dessert.
That would be good. Oh, so then that brings me to the next. What products are you thinking about in the future? Is there a way that you can make this into a dessert or a cookie or a cake or
I've had a lot of, a friend of mine actually was working with me on a cookie.
Okay.
We were doing coquito cookies. And that was actually a hit. I had one guy, sweetheart, he says, I want a bottle of coquito and I want a dozen coquito cookies. I was like, what? That was just by pure chance. My friend said, hey, try this. I said, okay, yeah, let's try it. So it was a collab. We did that. It was a hit. And then we haven't done it again because then she was like, wow, that was more than I expected.
I was going to say, there's the commercial kitchen.
Exactly. I know we can also do it as an ice pop, as a slushy, as, and typically you might find that in Puerto Rico. I have a friend that she also does coquito in New Jersey, and she's doing that this summer. So we kind of help each other out. I was like, so how was it? What was it like? And, she says, this is really good. I'm going to start trying it with other flavors.
Yeah. And this is a great market for you to test it in.
Exactly.
Because obviously we're very tied to the Latina and Latino community.
Yes.
All right. So if our audience wants to get in touch with you, learn more about your products, buy from you, how do they reach you?
Well, right now, the best way to reach me would be through Instagram.
Okay.
Nedas, Nedascoquito, Coquito. And just, not that I do not have a website. What I was noticing is that people would order, but I started to not know them. I didn't know who was buying, and
You
I
like
would
that personal connection.
I want that personal connection, so I could say, so Angela, a month later, do you have any left? What was it like?
Right.
And so I would send people surveys and they'd never answer me. So this is why I'd rather you reach me through Instagram. You could reach me through Facebook as well. Same thing, Nedas Coquito. You can order. We have, this is called La Original because she's a baby. She's the original. Then we have Coquito in a box, which is the ingredient. This is good if you want to ship it to any of your friends across the continental U.S. All right, no alcohol. Then we have the smaller size, which I think you had tasted, or no, it was at the other event. I had it at the event that where we met.
Yes.
But it's a smaller one called La Caneca. And then we have something that's called a flight, El Vuelo Original. So what that is 4 2-ounce bottles of the different flavors of Coquito.
That's a great present to give.
Yes. So that is definitely something, and talk about, expanding your market. So I was talking with someone that said, that'll be a great gift. I would love to give that to my business partners. I was like,
yeah, I was thinking the same thing, corporate gifts. Like we're always looking for something unique and different to say thank you to our clients. Corporate gifts, I've seen, coffee and different things like that. But if you have it in that smaller package, then you can order, several of them and then create boxes for your clients too.
Exactly. So
great
that's
corporate gift
available
idea.
also, which we're doing. We had tried it last year, and I kind of hit a funk last year, as I had mentioned. It gets funky in the season, because then I should not be watching other people that are doing it, but then I watch it and I start to feel self-doubt. And I had thought about it, but my coach said, no, you're going to work. That's one of the things we're working on this year. So besides the kitchen, we're doing the corporate gifts, guys.
Yeah. So, that's a lesson too. You started with one product.
Right.
And as, people started catching on to the product, you want to be able to offer them more. So then you start adding other products, but you're asking for feedback because maybe it's not a hit. Maybe you need to tweak it a little bit.
Right, or what did you like? What didn't you like?
Yeah.
So, for example, like the pineapple one was one that I did as a flight. And I sent it out to a few friends. They said, I couldn't taste a pineapple. I said, okay, great. Let me adjust
Good feedback, right.
Right?
Yeah. Instead of creating masses.
Exactly.
And then not getting the feedback before the product goes out. Yeah, that's really good.
So that's why I like it that way. They can even contact me via email, nedascoquito@gmail.com.
Perfect. So final question, off topic, but if you could pick a superpower now, what would you pick and why? And I'm curious on this one because you are a teacher turned entrepreneur. So what kind of superpower do you think that you would enjoy?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a good one. And it's always interesting. It changes because last year one of my students asked me that. And I said, you know what? I would want to be able to read people's minds. And then I thought about it and I said, no, because then it'll be too much. I think for me at this point, I think the superpower I would like to have is, I don't know if it would be a charisma or how does, manipulation sounds so bad, but it's not manipulation.
What would you use it for? Or why would it be?
To get more, to actually tap into more people, share with them that power, because you're not everybody's cup of tea, or in this case, you're not everybody's coquito, but definitely to be able to connect at that first
storytelling.
Storytelling.
Yes.
I love telling stories, so I wish I had that right away where I didn't. Where it's very disarming. I guess that's what to be able to disarm.
There you go. That's a good.
That's a superpower, to disarm people so that then there's not this pushback.
Yeah, the door's open and
the door's open right away. Exactly. Yeah. So let's call it disarming, not manipulation.
Yeah,
disarming.
That's a good positive word.
Right.
I like that. Awesome.
Right. Disarming in a positive way. Yes.
All right. One more time. What's the social media to reach you?
Okay. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. Nedas Coquito, NEDASCOQUITO.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on
you.
Empower Her Money.
I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you for listening to Empower Her Money podcast. I am grateful for you. Please make sure to leave us a 5-star review, like this podcast, share it, subscribe, and let's keep teaching others how to take control and be empowered with their finances.